This episode is brought to you by the Founders Club, the premier community for founders pursuing excellence in the mind, body, and of course, business. The club is home to over 750 founders who are actively building stronger companies and better lives together. Through curated masterminds, destination retreats, and private events, members gain access to world-class insights, connections, and experiences designed to help them perform at the highest level. So the average founder in the club is doing between $5 and $50 million a year in revenue. So if you're ready to surround yourself with like-minded entrepreneurs who push you to grow and excel in every area of life, visit foundersclubofficial.com and apply to become a member today. Welcome to the podcast, everyone. We have a very special guest. David flew in last night from Philly. He is a Founders Club member, but most importantly, someone who is beyond dedicated to his craft. And right before we started rolling here, I kind of jumped right into it, and I want to pick up where we left off. So David, first of all, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
What would you consider yourself as an expert in? Because I know it's so overarching when it comes to health, but if we were to dial it in for the people listening here, what would you consider yourself an expert in?
Yeah, so it goes back to why did I go down this path?
Yeah.
And when I was a sophomore at Temple University, at the business school, we all took risk management classes. I got recruited into the risk management program at Temple, which is the most award-winning program, in risk management. So I was honored to join that group, and I just saw the American healthcare system as this big problem that everybody has negative experiences in general, unless you don't use it at all. Like, bless you if you don't have to use the American healthcare system, but it's just all kinds of messed up. So I said, I'm going to set my sights on what can I do to make an impact in this system. And that took me from there. My career is much more overarching healthcare, but there is a Achilles heel in American healthcare with mental health. It is the weakness of the big insurance companies. They have 95% of everybody else in network. They only have about 50-55% of psychiatry in network. So the broad amounts of out-of-network providers. And guess what? Those are like the really good ones. The ones that take network insurance are not necessarily the good ones. People really struggle with access to care. So we set our sights on how do we improve this piece of the healthcare system. So that's my mission right now.
Wow. I mean, that's super powerful. I mean, I'm a Canadian, so my point of reflection is always the Canadian healthcare system, which, for Americans, they go, you have universal healthcare, which is true. We don't pay for our healthcare, but we pay for it in other ways. Yep. Beyond financial payment, we pay for it with our health, right? Because we don't always get access to the best healthcare. I want to kind of peel back the onion a little bit and give even more perspective for people. Entrepreneurship is a very interesting thing. Entrepreneurs, they come in all shapes and sizes. We see it within the Founders Club. We have founders as 18 years old. We have founders in their 50s. It just changes all throughout. There's no one cookie cutter. This is what an entrepreneur is. But what I find interesting is where it starts. So you kind of brought us into how you got into where you're at, but where did the entrepreneurship bug bite you?
From the beginning, my parents were great in raising us up as individuals that were focused on, self-determination. When I was 3, my dad said, "You're paying for your own college education." And
wow.
I'm like,
you remember that as a 3-year-old?
I'm 3. Yeah, no, I legit. That
starts at a young age.
That was but I knew, okay, that when I'm 18, I'm kind of on my own for good reasons. And they got me Entrepreneur magazine for years. I read that, religiously. So just learning. I had lemonade stands. For one birthday, I got like a pot holder maker. You can make your own pot holders. So I have a lemonade stand, lemonades and pot holders. Wow. And I was selling stuff. I was the trench coat guy, in my neighborhood.
If I could sell something, I will.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And was there a point where, I was very similar in the same way, like lemonade stands. I feel like every entrepreneur at some point had a lemonade stand. It's like if we can just go through the neighborhoods and find lemonade stand, just like buy a piece of whatever that kid goes and builds, it'd be a really
Talk to me in 12 years.
It'd be a really good investment strategy, But
yeah,
what I find very interesting about it is we go through those motions as a kid. We don't really know what it ladders into, right? And ultimately, there is a point where we have to take it very seriously and it becomes real.
Yep.
Sometimes it's out of a negative experience in our life. Something happens and we say, oh, now I got to do it. Did you initially get into entrepreneurship, or did you first start working and then realize, okay, I need to go and step out on my own here?
Oh man, well, there's always your skunk works side hack projects that you have a vision. I'm gonna write I went to college to write a screenplay.
Wow.
But that was always in my mind. I knew that was unlikely to happen. So my backup plan was to become a lawyer, and then I became a health insurance underwriter. So I founded 9 companies, and some of them were more fun than others. Some of them I learned really hard lessons. Some of them I paid a very expensive price for those lessons. I'm like, I should have paid for an MBA instead of paying for this lesson.
What was the hardest lesson you learned throughout building those 9 businesses?
Oh, it's all, and I'll quote a good friend and fellow, Toronto Canadian, Claude LeBlanc. He said, my biggest regrets in business are partnering up with the wrong people. So it really is people. My co-founder is an amazing people manager. He was at Apple before he kind of teamed up with me on our entrepreneurship ventures. He was a senior manager there, hired and fired, like 1,000 people. So managing a lot of people. So his strategy was really, all right, let's work out the people who are on the bus that should not be on the bus. So Jim Collins' book, Good to Great, is kind of a model.
One of my favorite books. Gillette, baby. Shout out Gillette.
Yeah. So it's good. So I am pleased to say at this point, we have amazing people on the bus. We have the right people on the bus, high empathy navigators, high empathy people that can really take this business to the next level. And in general, they're in the right seats. So it's a matter of hiring as quickly as we need to, which is kind of quickly, but hiring the right people.
Can you take us through one of the experiences that taught you a valuable lesson throughout your 9 businesses? Whether it's you mentioned having the right partners, which is so much easier said than done, because it's kind of like dating, right? At first, you don't really know. Next thing you know, you're halfway into a marriage. You're like, oh my God, how did I not see this? How did I not pick up on this? It's very similar in business, right? Like the business is the relationship, and things happen. People change. But it's sometimes we could have that foresight if someone just let us know, if someone just told us. Kind of like our ethos for the Founders Club. It's like, you don't have to learn everything by falling flat on your face. Sometimes someone else can just be like, yo, I just went through that. Probably want to look out for that. And that sometimes saves you time, effort, headaches, hair follicles, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
What is an experience that you went through that, for the people listening here, that you wish someone shared with you prior to you having to go through those experiences with co-founders?
I guess I'd say one of the key tenets of how I operate is I have really awesome mentors and people I can seek counsel from, and seeking more counsel may have prevented some of those mistakes. And I'm also, a strong believer in everything happens for a reason. Like there were some mistakes that I needed to learn that lesson real hard.
What was the biggest mistake?
Not seeking counsel. What was the biggest mistake?
Like what actually happened that caused you to determine, ooh, that was a mistake?
Placing excessive amounts of trust in people that other people had warned me to be careful in the way that I deal.
What did that look like? Like giving people access to things? Like what did that look like?
Yeah, so there's a couple things. One thing to talk about, and it's significant. I have deep experience in when you're younger and when you're doing especially kind of a side hack, and you realize, okay, I have this day job where I'm very focused, and then I'm going to start this. Equity's not that important to me. I'm not a selfish, greedy person, so I'm willing to say, all right, everybody's on a team. We're starting this. It's today. The company's today years old, and you know, hey, you get equity, you get equity, you get do the Oprah thing. Like everybody loves playing Oprah. So
right. I don't got money, but I'll give you equity. How about that? Yep.
So that is just the wrong thing to do.
Right.
Like bottom line, like unless, you know, so Jamin Ferner, my co-founder, I've known him for 16 years. So we've been deep in it. He's been in a couple of my business ventures. I could not do this without him. You know, I've been with my wife for 19 years. I've been with Jamin for 16 years. Like so these
your
are
work husband.
A deep amount of trust. So there are so many synergies, you know, outside of the intimacy and some of the other commitments. And you know, it is I feel that a fantastic collaboration, and even seeing the way you work with Chris is kind of inspiring. And I do want to say, you know, I really love the Founders Club emphasis on giving and providing what insights that we have to others. So I've really felt that since I've been engaged here. So that's one of the things I'd say. You know, you can reach out to me, you know, especially one of the Founders Club members, and I could help you if you're struggling with some of this. But the equity discussion, I'd say, really think through it hard. Because sometimes you're really in a position where if you want to keep that person, you need to give them equity, but do you really need to keep that person? And that's where I wish I would have listened to some of the advisors, and some of them are like my sage advisors, and I really should have leaned on them, and I just didn't. Some of them are people that actively told me, like, you're making a bad decision. And I'm like, you're not my core advisor. I'm just going to do this anyway. So like that two-pronged thing of I didn't seek advice from people I should have. I'm getting unsolicited advice from people that I probably should listen to, but I don't. That I boil that down to my biggest mistakes in business and around. You know.
This is like such a, wow. This is such an amazing point you're making, right? It's, aside from ignoring advice that we should have potentially taken, I mean, that happens to all of us. Sometimes we're just not ready to receive information. Sometimes, you know, the people closest to us, the ones we don't want to listen to. There's a lot of involved when it comes to advice, which is, I mean, one of the core tenets in the Founders Club is it's very rare that you have somebody in your, you know, core group that you've known your whole life. So everyone in your group has no horse in your race. So if they were to share a piece of advice or to reflect on their own experience and share that with you, you can take it as you wish. There's no benefit or drawback to them for you to do so. Yeah. But one thing you mentioned, which is really, really important, was to potentially give equity to people in your business. Or you said, do I even really need them? And the reason why I want to like bold and underline that point is because that is such a hard thing to accept and deal with as a founder, no matter how much experience or what you're going through. When someone gets to a point where they ask for equity, they're not just hired a month ago. This doesn't, very rarely, if that happens, it's like, what? Get out of here. You know, it's like, what are you even talking about?
Yeah, that's a red flag there.
Right. Just, you know, but usually when that conversation happens, they have leverage. They've done good work. They are meaningful to the operation. You typically like them as an individual because you've had rapport with them. It's very rare.
You don't want to lose the friendship, which I'm all about friendship.
Yeah, there's so much, there's connection, there's bonding, and you're like, wow, I now have to make a decision. Do I give them equity, which is what they're asking for? Or do I potentially create a void in my relationship, in my business, potentially risk growth? And that is fear. And going through that yourself, it's very easy to say, just get rid of them now in hindsight. But at the time, if a founder's listening to this and they have a key player that is asking for equity that potentially they feel is unreasonable, what would you say to them right now, having gone through it yourself, on how to potentially deal with it?
Well, you want to be preventive. So the way to be preventive, and I've spent probably approaching $1 million on legal advice. So I have a
there
lot
we go.
of,
you're about to save $1 million bucks.
This is very useful information. Is like I see no better way than to really establish your key advisory board and high level advisor. Like if you don't have anybody in your life, like that's possible. I'm sorry if that's the case, but you want advisors. Side tangent, I have a friend that sold their business, and I said, you know, outside of the millions and millions of dollars you made, what are the other benefits? Because I could really see a benefit in when I have to tell somebody bad news, especially in a management team. I could say, but my boss is telling me I have to do this.
Yes.
And he literally said, oh, that's the only additional benefit. He's like selling the company, and then I can blame it on the boss.
Yeah.
I think one strategy, and there's nuance to this. I'm not trying to be trite, is have a reporting structure where you will have to report to the board. Here's why I want to give this person 3% equity, and have them tell you yes, or give them the leverage to make it so that you can't just make that decision. You need a team of, sage advisors that can come around you and say, yeah, this is a good idea. The other thing, I was happy to be invited to the David Gretman event, and that was fantastic. And
you saw him in the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I saw him in the Super I saw it live, and I said to my 15-year-old, I'm like, I actually met that guy. Yeah. I don't know him that well, but like, and he was like, I was last month. Literally just at his house. Yeah. Like, I'm like, I know that's it. Like, I saw his face clearly enough. I'm like, that is definitely him, and it makes sense that he's there.
Yeah.
I almost asked you, like, oh, could we get like the rights to some songs like Peter Cetera's "Gloria Love" or something to lead us into this? 'Cause I was listening to that with my wife the other day. We had a good conversation about that. But so no. One of the things David said that really resonated was, he's in the trenches with the team, and that's what I always believe. All right, you can't just be what's the bird on the beach that can't just be a seagull and swoop in occasionally, crap on everything, and then fly out. Steve Bowie told me that. So you have to be in it. And he said, when the wrong people ask for equity at the wrong times, he just says, all right, I'll do your job too. Like, this is gonna stink. I'm gonna have to pick up your slack. You have leverage because you're in this position where I really don't want to live without you, but I'm going to do it because you're not asking the right way, or you're not in the right position. So his solution was structure an equity share. Structure a profit share.
Yes.
Where, it's not equity yet. We're not getting married, because I would say the other piece is put in your mind, all right, are you willing to get into not a permanent rest of your life marriage, but like, this is going to be a 5-10 year marriage,
permanent rest of your business.
If you give them a piece of your business, it could be more than that. Mm-hmm. So that's where, if you arrange for a profit share, they get all the benefits of equity and sometimes more cash up front, and everybody's made whole. So like, that was a nice piece of wisdom that he'd laid down, that I think is helpful. So have really great advisors that you can lean on, team up with, give you advice, steer you in the right direction, listen to them. And then, in advance, like, all of this is in advance. So you have the structure ahead of time, and then think through, what is your reward system? It's not just a paycheck. You want to give them, an eye towards, if I make my location or my, piece of the business more profitable, I get rewarded. So we have a lot of, conversations about salespeople. We have like 9 external people that are rewarded on sales. And one of my best mentors who sold a really big prescription business, I stick with it, but he said, reward those who perform. He's only had commission only salespeople that he's worked with, and those people have crushed it. Wow. And if you don't make it, he's not out anything, and you just decide, I'm going to move on, and you learn something. And it's tough. Not everybody can do commission only, but if you're a performer and you can actually perform, we kind of like that approach.
What's up, founder to founder fam? I just want to quickly pause here and thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of this journey. Starting a podcast is no joke. And the fact that hundreds of you listen every single week means the world to us. We want to continue to bring better and different and unique conversations to you to give you the most amount of value. Our only ask is that if you enjoy the pod, to please just share it with a friend. And most importantly, leave a comment, DM us, give us any sort of feedback. This entire production is for you. So if we can make it just 1% better, we will. We love you all. All right, let's get back into the pod.
Yeah, I think it's like what we're getting into, and to be honest, we've never had this type of conversation on the podcast, which is why I think this is so valuable, is the idea of creating what I like to call, at least, the idea of creating spaces for people within your organization. And what I mean by spaces is not like a desk or an office or a channel on whatever app you use, Teams or whatever. What I mean by spaces is you create their world within your organization. And what that looks like is them fully understanding where they're at, them fully being aligned with the core values and the vision. Core values are quite boring to read from time to time, but they actually are very important, specifically as the organization starts to grow.
Yeah.
And you see core values in how people speak to each other. You see core values in how they act with one another, how they deal with conflict, how they deal with potentially things being misrepresented, how they talk about one another. It's very important. That's where core values really come to show, especially how if they're client facing, even more important. The next thing is the space determines the future, the vision. How clear can you create a space where they can be aligned to the future? And then the most important thing, and this is the one thing that I spend 99% of my time on when I'm working inside the business with the team, is incentives, which you just mentioned, what is commissioned as potentially commission only. There's so many different ways to do incentives. But for me, I don't care. Like I always say to people, don't tell me your goals, show me your calendar. I also say, don't tell me who's performing on your team, show me the incentives, right? Because you can always work backwards from the goal into the incentives. And if the incentives are perfect, it is like a perfect recipe at a restaurant, at a dish. If you perfected a recipe, we all know this, right? Everyone has that 1-2 dish that they make so well. You've perfected it.
Yep.
I view the recipe as the incentive and pay structure for each individual employee based on what they're doing to be the secret sauce. And I will spend sometimes days, sometimes weeks, depending on how it is, trying to figure out, and I get it wrong sometimes, we all do, trying to figure out what that perfect structure is so that when they win, we all win, the customer wins, and it's a beautiful loop. And when you get it wrong, it's painful.
Yeah.
How do you look at that when you're thinking of building your teams? Or you've done this, you've built 9 organizations already. You've been blessed now to work with the same co-founder for 16 years. And there's been a handful of mistakes. You have a team that relies on you. And I've been fortunate enough to actually read your core values before, because you were able to send that through. And I thought that was really impressive. When you think of creating those incentives, where do you start?
Yeah. So the key is culture, and it's an overused term. It's not everybody's favorite thing to talk about. Certainly when I got hired out of college, I worked for New Jersey's largest independent brokerage. And, I was learning like, all right, what is this? There's this culture, there's a seven-day integration, the beginning of my time working there, but it was all methodically put together. The Friedman brothers, David and Larry, Larry has since passed. David runs a company called CultureWise. That's pretty awesome. They have a lot of great content. I think about things that David had taught me over the years. Look back at that time with a lot of fondness, but we went after the Malcolm Baldrige Award, which is an award for organizational excellence. We had about 110 employees, big insurance brokerage, did good work, but we were really focused on culture. Like 110 employees, all their pictures were up in the break room, and you had to study them and learn 3 key facts about them in your first week of working there.
Wow.
There wasn't an intense, I think the test was like, all right, you got to pick 6 people and you got to tell me about that. Like, it wasn't like,
Right.
You got to tell me about every single person, but it really helped, from the beginning to the way that they had what we called POCLO, pile of cash left over. It was an employee. It wasn't a formal ESOP, but it was an ESOP structure that said, all right, after everybody's been paid and whatever bonuses to the owners get paid, there's this pile of cash left over for the rest of the employees, and it gets paid out based on tenure. So among other things, the Malcolm Baldrige Award approaches, and we never won one. I think we were runner-up 2 years in a row, but they didn't understand the insurance brokerage industry, I think. But I carry that with me because one of the key tenets was there were pillars of behaviors and there were fundamental values that everybody agrees on when they start working here. So every single week we go through one of the fundamentals. So number 1 is practice blameless problem solving. Like blame-seeking behavior is often a sign of toxic employee behavior. So somebody that's always trying to claim credit for themselves, somebody that's always trying to blame others for things that go wrong. We try to avoid that by not saying, all right, this thing happened. Let's figure out, what you did wrong and talk about that. No, let's solve it first. And then usually it's pretty clear what the mistake was. And we have some coaching moments. Like it's the culture of making the team feel comfortable and welcomed is what Jamin's really, really good at. And I support that wholeheartedly. So the way we come together is like, I'm a little bit quieter. I struggle to give compliments the way fundamental number 6 is give a compliment to somebody. I was a little, guess you'll cut this part out. I always struggle. I always struggle with the patronizing. I always struggle with that word. I'm always looking like I was accused early in my career of giving too many like baseless compliments.
Where do you feel like that came from you? Like baseless compliments, like
wanting team members to like this is like early on in my career, like just wanting people to like me.
Yeah.
And so I'd give compliments. And at one time, my close coworker, Arlene, who's phenomenal. We were a team to be beat. She just said, "You just sound like she was just New Jersey, like straightforward person. You just sound patronizing. You need to stop with these like, don't give me a compliment for like 2 months." Okay?
Yeah.
I was like,
make it mean something.
She like at that moment cured me of that, and the pendulum swung the other way.
Yeah,
I'm like,
I don't give any compliments.
So that's my problem. And then I started working with I literally like 4 years ago started working with somebody who I really respect and love, Dr. Barthwell, one of our core members, and she just said like, you could give more compliments. And I'm like, thank you for saying that, because I know that now 20 years later after I've fixed myself on the other end. Like, so praising the team for the good work they do and letting them know there's a safe space. We're working in a really stressful environment. So we treated about 70 suicidal cases last year. Wow. within our ranks of we treat 65 conditions. And we use innovative therapies with small molecules. The most innovative treatments are what we make available at Wire Health. So it's not an easy job. Like if the team is working on 4 suicidal cases where we're trying to surround them with care, empathy, talking to them regularly, my team's worn thin a little bit. So it's hard work. So making them know like, all right, your leadership team has your back. We're here with you. The incentive of this culture is going to be stable. This culture is everybody agrees on. And that's why the fundamentals are so key to this is everybody has something to point to say something's wrong here because we're not practicing this fundamental or I want to talk about this fundamental because something happened between me and another employee. And the fundamentals have really allowed us to kind of sort out those, differences of opinion and things like that. So
that's very interesting. You brought up, dealing with some very 70 suicidal cases just in the last year, which is no joke.
No.
And that wears people thin. There's a lot of complications, a lot of weight that comes with that. But you also mentioned some of the different therapies that you guys put together. Talk to me a little bit about that. What have you seen success with? That's new maybe, or that's innovative, that's different. And also I'm very curious on if there's any trends or things that you find kind of linear that's connective between, those 70 cases. I'm sure there's been way more just in the last year, but what you're seeing on your end.
Yeah. So it's my background and everybody who has a large family, an extended family, and my wife's family, everybody knows somebody impacted by mental health. If it's not you yourself, which, again, it's great if that's the case. But, I was, I think I told you, I don't think we said this yet, but 4 of my co-founders had bipolar disorder. One of them had narcissistic personality disorder. That was especially difficult. Like that's the one you really need to take care with. But the bipolar disorder in entrepreneurs, if you're not aware, is almost 4 times the general population. So it's about 3% gen pop,
Wow.
and 11% in entrepreneurs. And the reason is you have very reflective, very innovative, insightful depression lows. And then you get the mania, which says, I can do anything. I might as well start a company. And that, like, it's not much more complicated than that. That's how I boil it down. And,
Wow.
and with ADHD, you can certainly, focus and move fast on certain things, not focus for too long, depending on what drugs you're on. And so looking at the impact that it's had on the people I partner with and I love, and my roommate at one point, we were, it was kind of pre-company. I was in charge of setting up this company, and I was in charge of the comic book section of a newspaper. It was like an actual paper. So this, dates me as to how old I was. Kind of a neo-punk local Philadelphia newspaper that we were trying to start. And like right before it actually started to publish, one of the 12 co-founders had a bipolar kind of manic breakdown. I was in the hospital for, I think, 7 or 8 months.
Wow.
So I saw him a few times afterwards. He's doing well now. Love the guy. But like, that was my first experience of like, man, we were really going to do something. And that just shuttered the whole thing.
Wow.
So the innovative treatment. So looking back at that time, okay, what could we have done? The others that I see, whether it's depression or PTSD, and there's so much PTSD. I mean, 50% of PTSD is physical or sexual, assault related. And, so there's a lot of people that struggle. I think one of the bright lights, and I'm not a fan of recreational drug use. I'm not promoting, hey, you go out, try these things, try to go international, go to Jamaica. Like I'm not promoting that. MDMA, and the risk is, okay, that's a party drug. That's been used in
typically
date rape.
Drug.
Like there's dangers to that it needs to be controlled, but that is the most likely candidate. They shot it down last year, but it's the most likely candidate, or 2 years ago, to be FDA approved for PTSD.
Oh yeah. This is a
this
direct
year,
heart opener.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
why do you think it's the case? Why does MDMA, like what signs does MDMA, I know, we'll preface that we're not promoting anything, but if you're seeing success, like what are you seeing with MDMA? Are you suggesting it? Like how has it positively benefited? Like what benefits have you seen? Sorry.
Well, no, the clinical trials are showing, and I'll quote another podcast from the late Nolan Williams, and I think it's Dr. Mark Hyman's podcast. They were talking about the October 7th attack in Israel, and there were people at that music event that were taking MDMA, and those individuals processed that trauma much faster.
Wow.
And outside of that, like that's just anecdotal in a way, but there were enough cases where those people seemed at the time, I don't know if there's been a study, over a year later, but this seemed to process that. So that's just an example.
Right.
And more studies need to be done. The other examples that I've heard, it's very helpful in couples counseling. So if I could, like, there's a few things, if I could snap my fingers and make American hospitals utilities, that would be the way to fix American healthcare. You almost can't fix American healthcare unless you make hospitals utilities.
What does that mean?
That means like there's water, electric, there's things that you need, sewer, trash. Those are utilities, right? We played Monopoly. There's utilities. So that's not communism or socialism, right? What if we would just realize, hey, everybody in America needs hospitals kind of like they need water and electricity. We just don't all use it every day like we do water and electricity. But in one way or another, the community's paying for that hospital. So let's just call it what it is. It's a utility. Let's stop having so much waste and excess. And, sometimes there's too many hospitals in an area. Why did we build another hospital? So, that's the only way, because hospital prices are so egregious. And so this is something there's a whole podcast I did last month that's coming out soon that speaks specifically to this, but that's the primary way to fix American healthcare, because so much entrepreneurship can happen from there. If you kind of make the hospital open source, if you make it a utility and it's there, then the doctor groups can do better work. They can focus on quality. They can focus on delivering more for the patients. But the way the hospitals work right now, it's, and the hospitals will benefit. Like, this is not an anti-hospital pitch. We all need them.
Right.
But that's, if I could snap my finger and make people in a relationship, marriage is not for everybody, but if you're in a marriage, for instance, like I've done marriage counseling where people are like, we really want to fix our situation. My main advice, and sometimes this is not the first thing I say, is be more intimate on a regular basis. And again, not promoting, illegal drug use at all.
Yeah.
MDMA has, for people that just say like, I have lost complete romantic interest and the other person as well.
Right.
Those people that have this diametrically, they're just opposed to each other. Again, the evidence has suggested that is a relationship healing event when they do this. I don't think there's clinical trials that way. I think these are flying international illegal use cases, but there's enough of those examples that there's evidence that could have societal benefit.
Point in the right direction. I find this so interesting. So we do this like men's growth workshop at the Founders Club, which is two of the guys that run it. I've been like working with them for almost 11 years now. It's been a long time, and it's one of my favorite things that we do. And it's only men, and because I've been working with them for a while, like they've been coaching me since I was 19 years old. Yeah. But when people are coaching you, oftentimes you learn a lot about them. And I was first introduced to this type of therapy through one of them. And he shared exactly that. He's like, felt very disconnected from my partner. And doesn't mean I don't love them. I love them dearly. I just feel a little bit disconnected. Life gets in the way. And I'm like, dude, I'm so sorry. He's like, no, you don't understand. So, we took some MDMA together, and it brought us back to our wedding day. And he was like, the next morning was the second day of our marriage. And he's like, they've been married obviously for over a decade, but he shared, he's like, I haven't been married yet, but he's like, Aaron, like that first year of marriage is typically like the peak. And using this form of medicine, like brought us back to that. We get to relive our marriage year again. And although I haven't done it myself in that way, I found that so profound because, he's done so much work on himself and he continues to do so. And I'm impressed in so many ways, but to see medicine used in that modality, although there hasn't been clinical trials yet, but I'm sure you can probably speak to it more than me, but like, I feel like clinical trials are always like the last, like human trials, human testing usually comes first. And eventually, they put a flag up saying, all right, it's good to go. And it might not be the case. And that's always not because it's not safe or not healthy. Typically, there's just so many other red flags and roadblocks and, lobbying. And there's just things that are out of our control.
Then stigma and there's a stigma. So again, it's difficult because there are all of those examples, but this one's very ripe for abuse as well and diversion. So if it becomes legal, I was talking at a conference about the medical malpractice insurance. So one of the things.
What does that mean? What's medical malpractice insurance?
So if MDMA becomes legal for treatment this year, which is very possible. Again, like I don't know what's going on in RFK Jr.'s brain, but that matters to them. Like if he puts this on the front burner, like this could be in the hands of clinicians in controlled environments. So this is not going to be like, here's your 3-day supply, go home, have fun. This is going to be, you're in a controlled environment, but it's going to be different than a lot of procedures. It's going to almost look like this awesome studio. You're going to want a comfortable environment, but you're going to want two clinicians, maybe one kind of a lower level clinician, but have a doctor there for the whole 4 to 8 hour experience. And not only will that increase the cost of this treatment, make it less accessible to the average person, it will drive up the liability insurance premiums for medical malpractice. So if somebody gets injured in one way or another and says, this was very bad for me, I'm going to sue this doctor, that is something the very conservative insurance industry doesn't have a rating for yet. So they're going to look at it and say, all right, doctor, psychiatrist, psychologist, whoever's going to be teaming up to give this new therapy where you're sitting with a patient for 8 hours to make sure everything works. And there's 2 patients there because it's a marriage counseling, depending on if they both have PTSD or whatever's going on there, is going to increase the insurance premium for that clinician. And possibly they can't even get insurance. We're in Florida right now. There's people that can't get flood insurance. Like it's that kind of situation. I don't think it's going to be that extreme. After a few years, the market will adjust. But in the beginning, it might be prohibitively expensive. Yeah. That some people will say, all right, now it's legal, but nobody's getting it because stigma, difficulty of staffing, there's going to be a lot of rules around it, like ketamine treatment right now.
Yeah.
But if you look at the ketamine model, there's ketamine in every state. Like it's very widely available.
Ketamine is can be prescribed by your doctor.
Well, so that. Yes. So you can get at home sublingual ketamine, but everybody's body metabolizes differently. So that's a very bad way to get an accurate dose.
Yeah. How have they, would you consider they've done a good job with ketamine in terms of that rollout?
We send people to ketamine every week.
What's the main reason that you're sending people to ketamine?
It is PTSD, depression. Yeah. So trauma primarily.
So would you say it's very similar to MDMA in terms of the causes? Or some of the reasons, PTSD you mentioned would also be valuable for MDMA, but you said you would recommend ketamine. What are some things that would be particularly specific to ketamine that maybe MDMA you wouldn't necessarily suggest?
Well, we don't send anybody to anything illegal
we
at
don't
this
send
point.
anyone to anything illegal.
Yes.
But in a perfect world where both are legal,
yeah,
what would you send to ketamine that you wouldn't send to MDMA?
Yeah, so there are a lot of indications. The ones that are FDA approved and cleared for treatment can potentially, if you jump through all the insurance hoops, get reimbursed by insurance.
Wow.
So because we're an innovative mental health company, we partner with our employers and say there are a lot of very clear, very incredibly legal ways to get people treatment for depression or anxiety or ADHD, even though so it's like an off-label use that's incredibly valid. So for ketamine, the on-label use for PTSD and depression, we have a few other conditions that we can treat with ketamine. And it's really a matter of, we're never pushing it. It's a matter of the psychiatrist that we're working with on that patient is recommending that and putting their license on the line, putting their liability on the line to say, this person's particular condition might not be what the top reason for using this drug is, but I think they would benefit greatly and they'll get back to work. They'll be better members of their family, better members of their community, and they're not going to go to the hospital as much. So that's our goal, is keep people out of the hospital, because it's generally a waste if they don't get outpatient treatment that they should have and they become so acute that they go to the hospital. That's the reason we founded Wire Health, is we're seeing people go to the hospital, the ER, for panic attacks when they could just get better outpatient care at a fraction of the price and way less societal harm, way less employer harm, because we work primarily with employers. It's shown itself to be very beneficial. So ketamine is just one of the tools. Transcranial magnetic stimulation is another one, like a brain magnet that kind of rewires the brain, takes decalcifies the brain and helps you make neural connections in a better way. And there's several variations of TMS that are really good. And depending on what's available in the area, what the person's condition is, that's non-invasive, non-drug. It's a magnet. So we literally had one of our best candidates, you could really use TMS. He was like, well, would the metal plate in my head be bad for that? We're like, of course you have a metal plate in your head. This would really be good for you. So he ended up going through ketamine treatment and had really good results and really good outcomes. So we try to work with the members. So that one in particular, thinking through cases that I'm aware of, might have been a candidate for MDMA as an option. And that would be where we team up with the clinical team and say, we're the payer. We're kind of super group provider. We pay our providers. So we determine, all right, this is the backup, this clinical report is saying this person should have ketamine for their treatment. We're going to authorize that and get that paid for. So that's the position we take.
Interesting. I find something that I wish I knew more of, but just from my own, like I guess witnessing of people, I'm curious what your take is on people that use, I think it's SSRIs, these drugs that, and I call it drugs because that's the way I think about it, but maybe there's a different term. I call them drugs that they, at least the people in my life that I've seen go through it, just turns them into zombies. Which has created kind of like an adverse opinion for me. I don't know anything about these drugs, but I know that they're terrible because I haven't seen them do anything good other than maybe prevent someone from taking their own life, maybe. But certainly it just turns them into a potato. And that's why I've been such a stronger promoter of other alternatives, medicines. You know, personally, I've done the 7-day ayahuasca journey. I always say I don't recommend it, but if you feel called, be free. But I've done other modalities and I've seen very few, actually I haven't seen any, but I've heard of a few that have turned into zombies from that, but I haven't seen anybody turn into a zombie. But I've seen almost everybody on SSRIs turn into zombies. And I'm curious what your take is on that.
Yeah. No, we have some prescribers. They're certainly not anything that we're excited about because in terms of, you know, the clinical effectiveness, the SSRIs in general have a 30% chance of getting you 30% better on the first one. So you get this 30% chance of becoming 30% better. There's like no chance of being 100% better. This is not. And then every one after that you try, after your first one with that small chance, is a 10% chance of getting 30% better. So if you try the first one and you're like, it's not cutting it, I'm in the 70%. I'm going to try another one. It's even a lower percentage of you having, you know, positive impact.
Why do people still prescribe it then?
It's one of the only treatments. It's legal. It's been around for a while, and there's many variants. The other thing we do is we do genetic testing for our members to ensure it's very clear that some will not even metabolize. So your genetics might not metabolize Prozac. So why start with Prozac? Let's actually get your genetic makeup and say these 3 drugs will be absolute failures, and that's clear. So that helps target, like, all right, maybe we have this 30% chance if we use one of these in the green zone. So like we do a little bit of that, but again, it's not exciting, but it's standard medical practice. And some people are looking for, hey, I want something in the mainstream that I can do to impact my situation. And we're there to support that and try to steer you in the best possible direction.
Wow, I don't think I've ever heard that before. Like, do people know that you have a 30% best case first at bat? You have a 30%. I don't think a sports team would do. You have a 30% chance at 30%.
It's not a money ball.
No one
approach.
would buy that.
That's
right?
not
Like, imagine you sell a product and they're like, "How's this trampoline going to work?" Well, there's a 30% chance you'll be able to set it up, and if you can, there's a 30% chance you'll actually bounce. You want to buy it? I don't think anyone would buy it.
No.
That's crazy. Wow.
But there's a lot of money in those drugs. So
certainly, because they don't work. It's just like, if it doesn't work, you'll buy another trampoline, and there's a 10% chance you'll be able to build that one, and still only 30% chance that you can bounce. That's insanity. Wow. Oh my God. So let's fast forward a little bit. I want to fast forward to the future of your business, because what I'm hearing from you, which I find so unique, and you'll just tell me how unique it is, but what I'm hearing from you, it's like, there's so much care that you have for the people that come into your system. Now, again, I'm from Canada. I've been 1 year into the American healthcare system. I would say the guy that sold me my healthcare package cares a lot, checks in from time to time. I give him a lot of credit. Yeah. But I've had to like go to the doctor twice, and both times I was like just so annoyed with it. I got the online thing. I was like, I don't have time for this. I just didn't go. So I was going to heal myself, and I did, thankfully. But do you find that is one of the things that makes you guys different? Because I have never heard, at least in my own experience, I have never heard of someone saying, hey, before I give you this drug, let's do a gene test to make sure this works. What I've heard was, what do you want? Sure, here it is. That's what I've heard. What makes you, like, where does that approach come from for you? And do you believe that is going to be sustainable as you continue to grow into the future, especially where like American healthcare is going?
Yeah, I mean, so I've been a licensed insurance professional since 2005. I got my license, and I've maintained it over the years. I don't have any problem with insurance. The problems exist generally in the networks and the fact that the network is owned by the insurance company. Those should not necessarily be the same things.
Yes.
And you've heard it on Capitol Hill. We want to break up United Healthcare and Optum. And I say that would probably be good for the American consumer because that monopolistic approach is not helping anybody except
So
the
United is owned by someone else?
Optum and United are both owned by United Health Group.
I think that's my provider.
Health, no, that's what we have too.
That's
so
like
I'm not
everyone's
trying,
provider.
no, it's so I don't have insurance for myself and my family. We haven't had insurance for 5 years. My team has insurance. I have access to insurance.
You got to tell me more about this.
I am diametrically opposed to just buying things that I don't need. So we have a.
So wait. This is this is key. You and your family do not have like standard health insurance. What do you have?
So there's medical sharing. So
talk to me about that. What is that?
There's both faith-based and non-faith-based. Sedera is a really good one that has medical sharing where you it's not insurance. So all over it says not insurance.
Pool of money that everyone contributes to, and people use it based on as they need fit.
So if I have a $500,000 hospital visit and it's covered under the membership terms, the other members of this community, and some of them are hundreds of thousands of members, pitch in to pay for my healthcare bill. And what that also does is you get better pricing from the hospital because United, Cigna, Aetna, they're paying 2 to 5 times what Medicare pays. And Medicare pays with generally about a 3% margin for a hospital. So, it's not good. Medicare is not big, profitable business, but it keeps the lights on. The commercial insurance, and you probably know this, when you end up in the hospital, they're like, oh, you got commercial insurance, bingo, we're going to make a lot of money off of you. That's a scenario that I just don't like ending up with because more and more people have high deductibles. So if you have a $5,000 deductible, you go to the ER for 3 stitches. This happened to me recently, a couple of years ago. My 15-year-old was putting baking soda and vinegar in a growler top glass bottle. So the growler top was stronger than the glass. He was about to pop it because it's like a champagne cork, and it broke in his face. Oh, so he got 9 stitches at the ER, and the bill was $12,000 for 9 stitches. Now it was the face, so it was more important than like if it was the arm.
Right, they have to be a little bit more careful.
Get some super glue. Yeah. It's like, all right, this is your face. Yeah. Let's get this taken care of properly. But I wouldn't I thought $4,000 or $5,000 was going to be the bill, but it was $11,000. So people,
and you had a deductible on that,
on average,
paid for it.
Don't have $1,000 in the bank. So how are they going to pay a $5,000 deductible when they needed 9 stitches? So, if you're going to get charged $11,000 for something that should be maybe $3,000. If you have insurance, if you show them your ID card, you're going to get that $11,000 bill, and you're going to have to pay $5,000 of it. But if it really should be a $2,000, $3,000 bill, if you're cash pay and you don't show them the insurance card, you're going to get a much better cash pay rate. Oh, you don't have insurance, and sometimes they'll give you oh, I'm so sorry. Like, what happened? This is a choice that I've made to say, I want your cash price, not your insurance price, and I pay half for almost everything that we utilize. Wow. Almost every healthcare service we utilize is half of what it was when we had regular health insurance.
Wow.
So, and I'm not paying the premium every month. I'm paying a smaller amount for medical sharing. And I also have, we make this available to our employees too, a program called ACEs Cares, which is an association for caregivers. Many people are caregivers, that basically gives you access to 24/7 telemedicine, some mental health support, Upswing Health, which is a great musculoskeletal program that you can summon a physical therapist. Like, you injure yourself on the basketball course and you're like, maybe I should go to the ER. Call them up in 15 minutes. You'll be talking to a physical therapist and they'll walk you through, yeah, you should go to the ER, or maybe try these stretches and go to the ER tomorrow if it gets worse, or call us back in 4 hours. Like, It's an amazing benefit. And then Good Bill is the other one that's like really innovative that I don't know if you know, but if you're, do you know the Medicare poverty charts, percentage of poverty level? So the poverty level is I think around $13,000 for a single person. There's a chart where depending on your size of your family and your income, you're between 100 and 400% of poverty. So you could be making $110,000 a year. If you have a family of 5, you're under 400% of poverty. You're making like 350% of the poverty level for that family size. So you would qualify for significant hospital discounts. They'd essentially have to discount your hospital visit to Medicare and then subtract another 10 or 20% off of that bill. So it's a way to like significantly reduce your out of pocket if you're in those lower income thresholds. So we use that all the time. I've probably helped people. This is like off the side of my desk because I have experience in this. I've reduced healthcare bills by probably $5-6 million.
Wow.
For people in some companies.
Do you feel like the reason why most people don't do this is because they just simply are unaware?
Yeah. So, the hospitals don't like to promote these programs. Sometimes they actively tell members about them and they're doing a good job, but it's, so many people are in medical debt. Medical debt is a big part of bankruptcy in many cases. And yeah, this is getting more and more attention in certain circles, but it's also not able to be programmatized because once you have somebody like programmatizing it, like it could become insurance, and then insurance would be fighting with the hospitals that are in their preferred provider organization. You get back to the like insurance owning the network of preferred providers. So, Good Bill has done a good job of being a very tech focused. They're integrated with all the electronic health records in the hospitals. So they get to determine, all right, you're a member of this ACEs, association plan. We're going to support you and we're going to advocate for you. You just upload your bank statements and your tax forms, and we're going to go to work on your hospital bill and reduce it as much as possible. They've done an amazing job. So those things, I've had that for a while, and that helps me with 90% of what I need. And then I have a direct primary care doctor that I pay directly. So my doctor doesn't work for the insurance company. My doctor doesn't work for the big healthcare system that has allegiance to the insurance company. My doctor works for me. Pay him $75 a month. And I can email, text him, call him anytime I want. Amazing guy. He's got a wait list out the door.
Wow.
But
is this like anyone could walk into any doctor and create that deal, or is that a specific doctor that primarily works directly with people and not a provider or whatever?
Yeah, no, it's a specific model that the doctor has to choose. Like,
and how do you find that?
DPCfrontier.net or .com. DPC Frontier is a good. It's the Google search of direct primary care.
Wow.
I think they're nonprofit. Like that is the easiest place to say, I'm in Des Moines, Iowa. Is there a DPC doctor near me? That'll show. So direct primary care is a great model. It's not everywhere. It's not for everyone, but so that's how I've engineered my non-insurance model of taking care of my family. I know we're protected by the health sharing on the really expensive end. And then we have all these tools inside, and I calculate we've saved about $150,000 over 5 years.
Wow.
By just not having insurance, not having huge deductibles, not overpaying for care that we otherwise would have paid for.
This is a masterclass, Ned Rich. This is a freaking masterclass. We got to do an FC chat for the whole community on this, or we just send them this pod. This is wow.
And it's not for everybody. But some people need insurance. You're on a really expensive drug. I don't really have a great solution for you.
Yeah, this sounds like one of those opportunities. We kind of have something similar in Canada, but not quite, because we have universal health care.
And there's rules around the supplemental programs that you can have.
It's not so simple, but we essentially have a system for the people that are predominantly healthy, can afford to take care of themselves in certain environments and certain things. I would say like people in the middle that are not on edge cases, that are not terribly ill or have to rely on specific medicine. We have a program for like if you have diabetes and you need insulin, you have to pay for it still in Canada. People think it's free. It's not. It's still pretty expensive. So we have things like that. But for the kind of middle individual that is predominantly healthy, has a family, and is paying these large premiums, this sounds like a cheaper, more effective alternative. I love the idea. In fact, I just moved here, so I do not have like a primary physician. I don't have someone that I've started to build that rapport. I have that in Canada, but that's Canada, right? And they don't really speak to each other.
Look for a DPC. You'll be happier.
Yeah, definitely. So, wow, I also find it interesting, right? Because your business, like the revenue model of your business is like you get paid from the providers, no?
I get paid from the employers. My relationship was
and then
with
you pay
employers, unions, health systems.
Wow.
Then we pay our panel of providers. So we have nationwide coverage, thousands of providers that we pay. And so they see us as the payer. They treat us.
They love you guys.
And we have a lot of people that say, I don't take any insurance, but I'll work with Wire Health.
Wow.
So that's been really cool. More than half of our panel don't take any insurance other than what we pay. And we're not insurance. So we're just a payer. We're saying do services, we'll pay you.
Wow. And you represent.
And we're outcomes focused. So when we work with our providers, there's a lot of things we do to manage that network. We support them with business services. We'll help them set up LLCs. We'll help them with people issues. We pay them quickly. And they know that we want the best possible outcome for the member. So we're not going to deny if they're like, oh, this person needs ketamine, or this person needs a gene test, or this person needs autism evaluation. We're not going to make them jump through 10 hoops. We're going to talk with the clinician, have a conversation and say, is this really what this member needs? And if so, yeah, let's do it. Let's take care of them. And they feel that empathy. And that's why employers, we're not for every employer. If you're trying to just do it the standard way, but that's broken. We partner with employers that say, this is the right way. We need somebody organized that's focused on this part of American healthcare to take care of our suicidal VP, to take care of the bipolar child, of the cashier. Take care, like we have so many, I think the average income is around $40,000 a year for the members in our care. So we have a lot of people that we do help with that billing assistance stuff as well.
That is phenomenal. Talk to me about choosing your investors.
Yeah. So one of the things, we've talked about some of the things that went wrong. One of the things that went really right for me in the past 10 years, and certainly my co-founder and the organization has benefited greatly, was choosing your investors carefully. We pitched over all my companies. I've pitched over 100 VCs easily. I was part of a VC doing subject matter expert work, great people. But the team of investors that really got behind us and believed in us were there for a reason. And so we've had amazing individuals with some tragic stories. So children completing suicide, early childhood death, eating disorders. Every single one of our members have had really severe situations in their immediate families that makes them understand what we're doing every day here, the people we're touching. And this is my responsibility to update them on your investment's making an impact. Like, no, I have not 10x your investment yet, but it's every single day we wake up and we make a huge impact. And being able to seek counsel from them as well, because they're updated on the great impact we're making. It's really cool to see. And I understand that's a place of privilege. Not everybody has a business. They can be like, I'm kind of changing the world. I'm like improving people's lives. Well, everybody improves people's lives, whether you've got, a gadget or a service that really helps people in their businesses. But the way that, working with people we really enjoy and we trust and we respect is different than, okay, we worked with a large VC firm that pitched us at the right time and they liked us, and nothing against that. Not picking on, like that is an absolute path, and depending on your business. But I can say for sure the money we've said no to over the years, I can very distinctly think through. There were certain people we said, I don't know if I want that person to essentially be my boss. Okay, I'm the CEO, but I report to the investors. Everybody has somebody to report to. And the people I report to are phenomenal people and friends.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I like to say purposeful profit. That's what I like to say. It's profit with purpose. And it has, when you have that emotional connection to what you do, it drives as your why, it drives as your motivator, especially during tough times. I want to hear more about the recovery-friendly workplace that you mentioned that you're on the board of, that you're involved in. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I'm on the corporate counsel advisory board. One of our other dear colleagues, is the chair of the board, and we've been in DC a lot. We do a lot of advocacy. It is probably the by far most bipartisan or nonpartisan issue in Washington. Like everybody agrees, working on recovery, fighting illegal fentanyl from China, fighting, stigma and helping people like access the care that they need. That's just pretty freaking bipartisan. So it's lovely to go to DC to actively work on this thing. And there's a lot of Fortune 500 companies that have a lot of energy around how do we deal with, especially for like zero tolerance workplaces, like some of the government contractors, some of the government entities, to figure out how to become recovery friendly. So reducing stigma, having managers and team members willing to talk about recovery, having somebody say like, I am in recovery. I deal with it every day. I want to be vocal and open about this because I struggle from time to time. I want my team members to know that. And if it's, certainly there's more dangerous jobs than others. Am I open to talking about my team members' recovery? Do I need to process that? Or do I just bottle it inside and be resentful that like, this guy makes me think I'm in danger every day because I don't know if he fell off the wagon. So like going through that, it's very systematized. So the Recovery Friendly Workplace Initiative is a national group of large employers that's doing amazing work around substance use disorder. And we're glad to be part of that. We are a recovery friendly workplace ourselves. We went through accreditation.
Wow.
Yep.
Again, it's another one of those things that entrepreneurs and founders and organizations, specifically ones that are also like high output, high stress, that rely on each other, don't really invest into. Like I can only imagine, if I'm going through something and my team relies on me and we rely on each other, how much fear I would have in sharing that, because now I'm like, oh my God, maybe they're going to have doubts in me. Maybe they feel less safe around me. Yeah. And that creates an interesting environment. So to create a space of safety and security can actually be the inflection, can be the opposite of that. It's like, now I can actually trust my team even more because I can be who I truly am with them.
You got top-down support.
Yeah. And I know that everyone above me is supporting me. I know people below me are supporting me. And together that workspace environment actually becomes my safe space, which is what we want to create at work. That's phenomenal. Wow. I feel like we can do like part 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is phenomenal. Dave, thank you so much. This is fun. I've learned a lot. I learned a lot on all the pods, but today might be a record for like, I'm in my head, I'm like, I got to watch this back at this point and at this point. Two things before we wrap up. One is we went through today a handful of things. We learned a little bit about your background, your story. We learned on some of the hard lessons that you had to learn. I like to say some of the hard conversations we didn't have when we should have, and we didn't know because we don't know what we don't know, and we didn't have the right people around us, which is so important. I loved how you really framed what it means to have the right people around you. One thing we say very often on this podcast, it's also a core value of the Founders Club, is that environment is way stronger than willpower, and you need to have the right people around you. And a lot of people, they come to us and they say, oh, if I join the Founders Club, do I need mentors? Do I need not? And we say, first of all, get yourself some mentors that you like, have some people that you trust in your family and your friends, and then also have a community that you can rely on. They don't replace each other. They're additive. You need multiple perspectives. And most importantly, a big lesson that David shared with us was to listen. Make sure you listen. Don't ignore them because you'll end up paying the price. Then we also went into what it means to look and be supported in America when it comes to healthcare, and to be able to support yourself, to look at alternatives, to understand where it's going, to set yourself up for success, specifically if you have employees that you want to support fully. Work with someone like Wire Health that actually focuses on them, which I think, to be honest, I really admire about what you do. Is you seem like these people that come into your system are not just another number on the wall. You really sit there and say, what can we do to actually help this person? Because, if you have a suicidal VP, like you mentioned, that's no joke. That affects a lot of people. We tell our team, one of our core values inside the Founders Club is to understand that a member is kind of like an influencer. People say, oh, we mentioned Dave Grumman on the Super Bowl. We did a great event with him at his house that you came in for, which was awesome. But like, one entrepreneur impacts so many people like an influencer. And they might not do it with a social media post, but they do it through their employees, through their customers, through the vast network, through their families, right? The way we feel as an entrepreneur, how we show up in our home affects the way our kids grow up, affects our wife, our relationships, our families, how we show up as a brother and a sister, how we show up to our employees. Like an entrepreneur affects so many people. And what you do to help people within that organization, just one person feel better, is very similar to the way we do it. It's like if we can just help one entrepreneur show up a little bit better, a little bit, whether it's a conversation, a connection, a resource, a space for them to sometimes vent, a space for them to solve a problem. Like when your website goes down, you don't know what to do. And everyone's like, what do I do? It's like, I don't know, but let me ask the group, right? Is oftentimes all you really need. And so I want to give you the credit for that, because oftentimes what you do, you don't really get much credit, right? It's kind of in the behind the scenes and you're supposed to help them, but it's like, no, we actually did. So I want to give you that credit. The last thing is people that are obviously not in the Founders Club and can't go in on the Slack or DM you. Where should people learn more about you? How can they connect with you? How can they connect with your organization? Kind of let people know.
Yeah. So I'm most active on LinkedIn. That's a great way to reach out to me. So David Balinski. That would be the primary way for anybody to reach out.
Don't solicit him anywhere else, okay? David, thank you so much. This was amazing. Thank you for flying in. Thank you for being an amazing Founders Club member. Thank you for showing up fully. Are you coming to LA?
Yeah, I am.
Boom! We're going to LA. LA for March. Yeah. This will release before. Yeah. Yes, it will. March 3rd. Obviously, it's a members-only event, but it's going to be absolutely bonkers. It's going to be so much fun. We just solidified all the details today. Otherwise, thank you for listening to the Founder podcast. Make sure you share and share with a friend, or listen, or reach out, or comment, or leave a review, or not. We're happy you're at this point. You're listening to me speak right now. Thank you so much, David.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Founder to Founder podcast. And I have one favor, just one favor to ask. It's the only favor I'll ever ask from you. And if you liked what you listened to please like, subscribe, and please just leave a comment. Let us know what you think, how we can make it better. We are all in on delivering value to you, and all we ask in return is that you hit that subscribe. It goes a long way for what we're trying to build here. And as always, we post an episode every single Wednesday, so stay tuned, and thank you for tuning in.